We welcome reps of Messrs. Havel India for a brief discussion on LED lighting. I would now request you to briefly explain about the LED and the technology used thereof.
Right, sir. So I'll begin with very quickly detailing what is LED. LED stands for light emitting diode, and in the series of multiple lighting technologies, LED is amongst the latest. In fact, it is the latest, and we have different lighting systems or technologies used for lighting. For example, the most classical one is incandescent lighting, which used to be there earlier. Then we had fluorescent lighting, which still is there a little bit, and now the latest, which is LED, is basically most preferred for a simple reason that it is, first of all, very energy efficient, and it has got a very long life with minimal repairs requirement.
Are all the LED parts made in India?
So when we talk about LEDs, LED began being manufactured in India largely from the sources, the raw material which was imported. Today, if I talk about Havells, more than 60 to 70% component is manufactured in our own state-of-the-art world-class facilities. However, even today there is a strong dependence on the items of LED like LED chip, which is the most essential component, which still is largely imported from sources from Japan, Taiwan, China and other European nations. So to answer your question, sir, large part of LED is being manufactured in India, but there are certain components which are still dependent on imports.
Now, one of the main problems at site, how do you identify the genuineness of a company product?
I would request my colleague Pushkar to answer this. He will explain you when you get the box or a product from Havells, what is the easiest and the simplest way to identify whether you are getting a genuine product or not. Pushkar, if you please answer this.
Thank you, Ketanji. I just want to explain this thing in a very short way. As you can see, whenever the product gets delivered at your site, you just have to see that there is a QR code which will be given on the boxes. You just have to see that whether that box has a QR code or not. If it has, you have to contact to any of our marketing guy, a marketing executive of that company, and that person will visit at your site. He has a special kind of an application in our mobile which can help us to determine whether this fixture or the product is genuine or not. This will help you to understand its genuinity, and also it will help us to stop this kind of duplicacy which is happening in the market. There is also another way that you can take technical data sheet or a type test report which we have, which the company person has with him. It is to be given to you on our letterhead, which will be duly signed and stamped, which will help you to get the perfect genuinity of the product.
I would like to add here that you must insist and ask for the two separate things. One is ISI certification and technical data sheets for both the things. One is LED driver itself and one is fixture.
In addition to this, in most of the cases, purchase is in the scope of contractor. So you have to demand with the contractor, one for the TDS on the letterpad of the particular company, and second one is you contact to any of the marketing person of the particular company and particular QR code on the product packing. So our company person, authorized company person, come on the site in anywhere in India and he scan it and it takes the genuinity of the product. So you verify the complete genuinity of the particular company's product.
Sir, I would like to know the top key parameters required for consideration during and before the execution of project.
Sure, sir. So the first and the foremost parameter that we must consider when we are designing at the designing stages or the initial stages of the project is clearly demarcating and identifying the application areas. As you mentioned, that in a lighting application, areas could be multiple. but each area has its own requirement of specific outputs that are required by the particular lighting. It could be measured in terms of the output lumens level, lux level. It could be the type of fixture. It could be the IP protection on a fixture. For example, industrial ingress protection 56, 54. But in a general sense, in an office building, these are the first parameters of applications which have to be clearly understood and spelt out so that you actually are able to pinpoint exactly what is required, and that is the most optimum choice for that application of LED lighting. I would also like to add that when you are making a selection of a particular lighting in an application, it is also very important to consider things like form factor, aesthetics, etc., because they form an integral part of your overall selection of lighting, the most optimum lighting in terms of fixture. For example, what is the type of the material that you are looking at in a fixture? Whether it is extruded aluminium, whether it is a sheet metal with a powder coating finish, whether it is simple plastic body. Then also very important to consider is the type of fitting, which is, for example, whether the fitting of the fixture is surface mounted on the ceiling or on a wall, whether it is recess mounted, whether it is suspended. As we see mostly that suspended is in the trend, and especially true for the linear fixtures, linear lighting fixtures. Similarly, we also have to consider whether the lighting pattern is direct or indirect, because ultimately the pattern of lighting is not directly related to aesthetics, but it is very significant when you are expecting a little bit more from the lighting than the traditional way of lighting, which is typically downwards. So all these factors make your judgment about the type of fixture and type of light that you are looking at much more easier while you are considering it basis the application that you have at hand.
Sir, is there any star rating in LED lightings?
So basically, sir, in LED, there is nothing called star rating, but yes, these fixtures are completely tested in our NABL certified laboratory. And second, it has been verified by Indian standards, and all its other drivers also been tested and verified by BIS certifications. So it is very important for you to specify the certain things in your requirement, that the fixture as well as its driver should be BIS certified and should be IS certified, which will help us to get the best product for you, and which will help you to get full complete life cycle of that product, which will help you to understand its requirement, its efficacy on ground basis. So basically, as far as star rating is concerned, in LED fixture, there is nothing like star rating in LED fixture. But we can say that our product is specified on BIS segment, whereas the fixture and its driver are tested and verified.
So what are the IS standards applicable for LED lighting?
To your question, sir, I want to answer that the IS standards applicable to our fixtures are as below. Number 1, IS 10322 Part 5 Section 2. Number 2, IS 15885 Part 2 Section 13. And number 3, IS 15885 Part 2 Section 13. This is all applicable for the year 2012. Also, this certifications has their own authenticate copy, which will be available to the marketing team of that company, and you can easily contact us and you can get that copy from us for better genuinity of the product.
What are the important criteria with respect to post sales of the LED product?
So I think the two most important criterias for the post sales scenario for LED is number 1, the service, which we specify, and we categorically mention that it should be on-site service. So service is the most important criteria, because in your installation, if there are multiple or one replacement or service requirements, as a user you would definitely not be required to travel a long distance to get one piece and then do the installation, because it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do. So on-site service, in my opinion, is one of the key criteria, followed by the warranty of the product. So warranty also comes in the number of years and is very much goes hand in hand with the first point which I mentioned, service.
Okay.
So in our organization, there are large number of LEDs and CFLs are there. So what are the consideration and possibility for retrofitting?
So, sir, in the retrofitting, we have got a gamut of solutions because our concern is that while we retrofit, the wastage and the replacement should be to the minimal. So, what we are actually expecting is that while you retain your old fixture of LED, we should be able to give you certain smart, technologies like stand-alone sensors to act as even a further energy saving solutions for your overall buildings or installation. What I mean by standalone is, take an example of a passageway where you have multiple fixtures and which are continuously on, even though there is hardly anyone using those passages and corridors. So during those periods where there is no movement detected on those passages, the occupancy sensor would actually turn certain number of fixtures or all off or only selected few on and off. So that combination is in your hand to when you are actually installing it. So it ends up giving you certain level of comfortable illumination in the corridor, but at the same time also not unnecessarily turning all the fixtures on at 100%. And in the similar sense, there is a very good technology of dimming available now, which is also very standalone in nature. You don't need to do special wiring, special breaking and putting new boxes or automation systems. It is very simplistic and very practical approach to retrofit, where you can dim the fixtures in the event where you feel that the occupancy is less or lower number of people are there who are using the light, and full 100% of every fixture turned on is not required.
Now I understand the LEDs contain some toxic materials or some pollutants. So as a user, once a LED has outlived its life, what is the disposal procedure? What precautions should a user take?
Sure, sir. So there are two parts of disposal mechanism. One generally is for the electronics, which is the driver part and all that. In the scenario where you have an external driver, which is an electronics piece, the disposal of all the electronic items are basically very clearly mentioned in standards, our own Indian standards also, and it is also mentioned in the IEC, and there is a full charter upon the responsible disposal of this. So one part actually pertains with the electronics, and as you mentioned in LED, the other part is basically for the fixture and let's say about the LED chip also. So there are specific guidelines which are given, and at the end of the life, this could be responsibly disposed of just following those specific procedures.
So is the user supposed to do it himself or contact the company rep for disposal?
So, sir, at the end of the life, because whatever small number of fixtures have lived their life, that still is not a very standard and standardized practice in the country today. But however, the best way in getting the support in this scenario is that you can reach out to the company and they can guide you through how to do that easily.
Okay. Now suppose we have got a buildings having CFL fittings. So what will be the payback period if I were to straight away replace those fittings without waiting for it to get unserviceable or fused? Will it be worthwhile or economical to straight away replace with LEDs and remove the existing working CFL fittings?
When it comes to calculating the payback thing, we have certain formulated Excel sheets where you can give your input of the usage, the wattage which you are using in that specific room. See, if you calculate in a very layman way that if you are using for example a 36 watt of CFL lamp, and if you are replacing that with an 18 watt of small LED lamp, and if the consumption comes to around 12 to 15 hours of time, we can say in a very normal way that the payback comes to around 1.5 to 2 years. See, how this payback thing works is that the power consumption which you are doing on your CFL stands to 36 watt. If you calculate the same with the driver losses, that will goes to around 40 watt. So we can say that against 40 watt, we are coming directly to 18 watt. That consumptions get calculated in each time that fixture, that LED lamp gets used, so that the power LED lamp is using, that whole power gets saved as compared to your CFL. So the payback of the cost which you are investing in buying that LED lamp gets back to you within 1.5 or max to max 2 years of time, depending upon your usability and the consumptions of the specific bulb.
Sir, our LEDs are in MAFI lights, airfield lights.
Yes and no. As of now, it is at a very infant stage. In India, I can say that even today, the expertise is yet to come, and I believe that there might be certain research and development going on, but the requirements of the airfield lights right now are not 100% replicated by LED. Because LED still remains as a bigger focus, still remains in the commercial buildings and general illumination, including the facade lighting, which is a very unique area. But very specific applications like airfield lighting and those similar applications, those are still to be at the exploration and the developmental stages.
So after LED, what is the next innovation in lighting?
So, sir, as you know that LED, lot of disruption in technology is happening, a lot of new innovation is happening every day. But if we talk about the general innovative trends, there are clearly one or two trends which are visible in the market and application is happening by the customers. First is what we call is as a cloud-based automation in LED lighting, which we call IoT based lighting,
That
which
will
is
be internet based.
Internet of Things based. And here the system is a little bit different as compared to a conventional system, where you don't have individual drivers on the fixtures. Rather, each fixture of lighting is being fed for both power and control through a standard Cat6 cable. And there is a central director, which is sort of a central control unit, which is managing multiple fixtures of LED lighting in a environment, in a premise. So that's one which we call IoT based lighting.
So this type of lighting will be very useful in an auditorium where you require dimming and all those.
Yes, sir. So
of things.
there is a lot of facilities which comes with IoT based lighting. The very important fact that if you were to implement a sensor on each lighting, which will detect whether the area is occupied or not, and basis that sensor will command the lighting to be turned off or dimmed or whatever action you define, that could be easily taken care by the IoT based lighting, because that's an inbuilt feature and there are multiple other features in addition to this. So yes, it is the technology which is the latest, and in addition to this, there is another technology which we call as a human centric lighting, which is completely new, and it is based on the human body rhythm, the type of lighting that our eyes receive from the early morning till the late night, and that cycle, that color temperature of the lighting automatically changes to meet the best performance of the human eye and the best output, so that the body is not stressed out through the intake of a particular color temperature of the light. For example, a white light, a very bright white light late in the evening actually disturbs your sleeping rhythm. It is known as a circadian rhythm of the body, and human centric lighting makes sure that the time of the day, the lighting automatically changes its color from a warm white to a daylight, and then to cold white, and then back to the warm white.
So it will mimic basically the natural light.
Natural light, absolutely, at the time of the day.
At the time of the day. I would like to thank the representatives of Havells India for a very informative and detailed session. Thank you.